Hey everybody, welcome to an all new episode of Let's Stay Together. Happy Tuesday. I am so excited for my guest today, Julio Macias, of course, one of the stars of On My Block on Netflix, a fan favorite show. We are going to dive all into the show and his amazing character and so much more. So get comfy and let me grab my guest right now. Hey Julio, how are you?
What's up, brother? How you doing?
Good, good. Thank you so much for joining me today.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you for having me on.
Of course, of course. So, Julio, I started this show back in March, almost a year ago, when COVID kind of shut the whole world down, because I wanted people to have a place that they can turn to every single week for some joy and hope and inspiration and to just have fun. And you bring all of that and more. So, it's great to have you.
Cool, man. Yeah, that's what we need right now. I've been away from my parents for a year now. That's the longest I've ever been away from them. And so I've been finding myself trying to do things that make me happier, paint, sing, play music. So this is great.
Yeah, yeah, of course. Hey, I'm all about that and connecting. It makes a difference. And to all your fans who are tuned in, I have your questions. I will be asking the most popular ones towards the end of the interview, but we have a lot to get to. So if you're ready to rock, I say let's go.
Cool. Yeah, let's do it.
All right. Well, first off, a huge congrats to you on the recent news that just broke about On My Block coming back for a fourth season, a final season. I know fans were hoping for this day of a new season to be announced, so they're super excited. But I want to bring it back for a minute. So when you read that initial script, that pilot script, what was it about the show that made you want to be a part of it?
Um, when my parents, when they came, well, when I came with my parents from Mexico, they always told me don't play certain types of roles because you fall into a demographic or whatnot. And when I got the role, it was, how many times are you going to audition for a gangbanger? But this one's, it felt different. It had heart. And, the first scene that I read was the scene with my brother on the beach. And that very much, to me, I was like, this family's Mexican. This guy's Mexican. I can see where he could find these like internal struggles. I think I want to play this role, as a Mexican. Let's go, let's do it. And yeah, that was interesting because it wasn't in a place where I thought that I was going to find it. And now that I've done it, it's a blessing just because of the amount of research that I've done into that whole culture, which is my culture. It's been a crazy blessing.
Yeah, oh, I bet. And you, of course, play Oscar, aka Spooky, who's a fan favorite, multi-layered, a lot more than meets the eye. So what are some of your favorite parts about getting to play this role?
Yeah, that you get to, for me at least, I get to throw on a completely different character. So that's fun for me to figure out how he walks, how he talks. It's obviously a badass character, so it's always fun to do that. Physically, it's training, it's fighting, it's getting in that shape of like, or in that mentality of like you're not going to take any crap, which is kind of fun because sometimes you take that off the set, and when I wouldn't usually be necessarily say aggressive or confrontative, I would definitely feel a little bit more pumped up while we're filming, just because it comes with the territory of shaving your head and having everyone stare at you. Um, but yeah, I mean, I have a blast with so many different aspects of playing Spooky, and probably the biggest one is that it is a character that you get to sort of embody.
Yeah, for sure. And it's funny you mentioned the transformation because a lot of fans are so shocked at kind of what you look like on the show versus what you look like in real life, right? You do transform into this role.
Yeah, I mean, it's fun. It's part of it's one of the things as a kid growing up, and you think of what actors have to do. You're like, oh, you get to like sort of live in that skin for a while. So for me, it's a lot of fun.
Yeah, and it's fascinating too because from the beginning, fans love this role, right? Even though he was part of a gang and he's done some not so
Yeah.
great things. So were you surprised by the wide welcomed reception with Spooky and why do you think people are so drawn to him?
I think more than just spooky, it's the show. It's so well written. It's very fun. When I got to talking to Lauren, I'm like, yo, you're hilarious. Just the other random scripts that I've read from of her that she's given me, they're fantastic and they're super super funny. And you see that throughout the show. You're enjoying yourself. You're laughing, and then you have characters like Spooky which sort of ground it or bring it back to a sense of reality, right? I suppose. But why I like to watch it, I like to watch it for Jamal. You know, watching Brett is it's hilarious to me. Even when I'm on set or off set, I just love watching him. And for Spooky, is like I said, I guess he brings a certain type of gravitas that also other viewers, you know, say like kids are watching with their parents will be like, oh, this is interesting, even though when they start watching it, they love all of the jokes and all of the melodrama and the soundtracks and the colors and everything.
Yeah, oh, 100%. There's something for everyone, which is great.
Yeah.
You're gearing up for the 4th season. When you look back at all of your amazing work on this show, what are some scenes or moments for your character that you just love and you'll never forget and they'll always kind of stick with you?
Anytime that I got to drive Loretta's the name that I gave to the car. Yeah, I don't know, that just kind of like sets me in a place, you know, driving that car. It's not easy, and you gotta go slow, you gotta go, you know, methodical, which is kind of how I play Spooky anyway. So it's a very physical manifestation of what's going on inside my head. And let's see. Definitely last season when they gave me that scene with my dad, that was something that I didn't see coming, and I jumped at the opportunity. It seemed like a lot of work, but also very rewarding to be able to do that. So that's something that I'll remember forever. And in the first season, I think the actor's name is Lucas. But the kid that I wiped the tear off of, or the actor that I wiped the tear off of in the first season, since nobody had known me or met me, there was a certain amount of like, is this real? Is this guy real? For real? And that was really funny. While we were doing one of the rehearsals, he broke, and it was just like, sorry, this is just very like, not that I was scary, but it was an intimidating moment, and it just kind of everyone sort of got sucked up into it in the rehearsal, and that was a very fun moment for me. I was like, oh, cool, I have the power to stand here and hold gravitas. That was like a aha moment for me. It's like, cool, whatever I just did, just keep doing that.
Right. Yeah, no, those are all great scenes. And you mentioned the scene with your dad, and I actually had a lot of people write in about that scene. I guess people could relate to it too. And for those watching who might not know what I'm talking about, it's the scene where you confronted your dad for walking out on him again. And powerful scene, one of the most powerful, I think, in the series. So how was it filming that for you and going through all of that?
Yeah, you sort of escalate. I mean, for me at least, I escalated certain conversations that I've had with my dad. Not to that extent, but you sort of spin them in your head, and you kind of say all of these things that you wanted to say to your dad or to your parental figure, at least in this case. But for this one, besides doing that, I had known the character for so long, and I had already built up hatred for this person who hadn't even been materialized at the time. I mean, it was just a thought in my head, like I hate my father because he did this, and I hate my mother because she did this, right? And I had to step in, and I had to be the father figure, so I didn't get to grow up. And so since I held that for 2 seasons before, when that scene came up, when the actor comes up and gives me a hug, I remember him saying, hey, I love you and I'm sorry. And this is just before we shoot. And so that, to me, just kind of like triggered something else. And it was very, very easy to sort of fall into that emotion, because it was a real healing moment for that character. And it's felt like that for me as well. It was like a full circle. I was able to hold on to the emotions that I created in the first season and release them all in this one scene. So that was interesting to experience, because I'd never experienced that before.
Yeah, I bet. And I mean, the results were amazing. It was a very, very powerful scene. And another part of the series that the fans seem to love is your dynamic with Caesar on the show, played by Diego, of course, your little brother on the show. So how is that brotherhood and exploring that on the show? And then how is it working with Diego?
From season 1, from the audition, we did the chem read, and it clicked. We started like goofing off, and we sort of resembled each other. I guess what we were wearing practically the exact same thing, and it was very serendipitous. I was like, oh shit, okay, that's my little brother. He's like, oh damn, that's my older brother. Great. So we got together, and right outside the audition room, we just clicked and bonded, and then that just kind of fell over into the first season, and then we got to know each other, hanging out a lot more since he was first moving out to Los Angeles at the time for the first time. So there was a lot of opportunities to go eat here or show him this place, and we kind of built that friendship. And then while we're on the show, he's so dedicated and just on top of it. So when he comes on set, it's very much it's like sparring with someone, because he's just coming up like, all right, let's go, buddy. It's like, all right, let's go. So it's a blast. It's a blast to work with him for sure.
Yeah, it looks like it. And the time jump. We have to talk about the time jump at the end of season 3, of course. We get to see a suburban Spooky, which is something that viewers never thought was coming. So what are you excited about exploring with this new chapter?
Yeah, I'm figuring out how he, who he is 2 years later, how he holds himself with in his new relationship with his brother, as a man, as a person. This is a rehabilitated Spooky, so now it's just Oscar 100%. And since he didn't have a chance to grow up, there's a disconnect almost as to who this grown-up Spooky is. Mm-hmm. So I'm having fun doing that literally right now, memorizing my lines and tearing that character apart so that I know what he should be. Because we also have interesting time dynamics in the 4th season, so I get to play around with how he presents himself in the future. So that's fun for me.
Yeah, I bet. And then we also got to see Caesar on the show. He was kind of stepping into your old shoes in the gang, being dubbed Little Spooky, right? So how do you think your character is going to react to that?
It's funny because it's part of how Spooky's turning. He's not even mad; he's just disappointed. So it's like, I'm not mad at you; I'm disappointed. That kind of tells us where he's at. Forgiveness-wise, he's a lot more compassionate in that sense. I know that Diego personally is super excited to get into that role. Every single season, he's just been like, I want the opportunity to go in and just like go hard and just go ham and just get in there, for the Santos. And I was like, you get your chance. And then when we saw that the last episode of last season, when I saw that, I was just like, if we come back, Diego's gonna be excited, because I know that he's pumped to do all that badass stuff.
Oh, yeah. A lot of people are excited to see how this next season unfolds. And I know you have incredible writers who have the season figured out, I presume. But for you, on a personal level, as the show wraps up, as the series wraps up, what are your hopes for your character?
I don't know, man. I've trusted so much what they've written from the get-go that I just enjoy seeing what comes up, and they keep surprising me. What I do want to see for Spooky is some sort of accountability, some sort of, hey, this might catch up to you, and redemption. You can see how hard he's worked to get out and do things differently. So if I could see some of either of those, I'd be very happy with like bringing that whole thing, since it's the final season, bringing that whole thing to a close.
Do you know everything that unfolds for your character in the beginning of each season, or do they kind of keep you in the dark?
No, for the most part. We don't know the last 2 episodes. So, and, Lauren being the writer she is, there's twists. So those last 2 episodes for us were like, we don't know. They could literally, there's dinosaurs. I don't know. Something might happen.
Yeah, that's cool though. I love that. It keeps it exciting.
Yeah,
the cast is awesome. You all seem like you have so much fun all together.
Oh, yeah.
So what is it like being part of this amazing cast?
It's killer. We've traveled together. We've hung out together. We've grown up together. Some of them, me and Brett are super, super, super close. Same with Jason and Jessica and Sierra. And every time they come into LA, my house here becomes sort of like a central hub of, either someone's eating here or they're, meeting here to go somewhere else, or we're all going together, or they're just coming over here to eat something or hang out or whatever not. So it became super, super, super close right from the get-go, at least for me. And I have a blast being on set, even though I have to be like the mean guy. It's fine because during breaks or lunch or afterwards, it's like, oh yo, what's up, Julio? Yeah, let's go hang out. Let's go do this. I'm like, yeah, absolutely, let's kick it.
Yeah, they're not like shunning you to a different lunch table.
Yeah, nothing like that. Yeah. But yeah, no, and it's super cool because once you comfortable with each other, playing that dynamic of like predator and prey, how spooky is. Like since they trust me, they're just like, I know he's not gonna hurt me, so
Right.
come at me, bro.
Yeah, that's great. I love that. It's always nice when you work with a good group that's like family, right?
Mm-hmm. Exactly. Yeah.
Especially because you put in the long hours, and people don't realize all the time how much work goes into creating these shows. So
yeah,
I love
and the chemistry between these characters, So
yeah, for sure. And the fandom is incredible with this show. I mean, I feel like it just blew up in such a big way. You have an awesome fan base with On My Block. So what is it about the show do you think made everybody fall in love with it so fast?
Yeah, me personally, I think it's hilarious. So I think it's a funny show.
Yeah.
That people really enjoyed consuming. And then another thing that we see that it's very clear is that they our fans, they feel represented. They see kids that to them are like, yo, that looks like me. That's such an interesting thing that growing up in Mexico, you see yourself a lot more often because everyone kind of looks like you. There is a sort of colorism when it comes to telenovelas and things like that, but for the most part, you see a lot of people that look like you. So when I first came here and I started seeing actors, I was never necessarily discouraged or noticed the lack of representation until I started working and I started having people tell me, "Yo, when I see you, I see myself," or it pushes me to do it or lets me know that I can do it. I'm like, that's awesome. That's not something that I noticed, but the fact that I'm part of helping them kind of feel represented, I mean, that's great. So I think that's another reason why the show caught on so well.
Yeah, it's huge, and everybody wants to feel seen. And I receive so many DMs from people when I announce you as my guest saying that you make them feel like they are seen, and I think that's awesome. And I think we have a long ways to go, but I'm so happy there's a show like this out there for people to feel like they're represented. I love it. It's awesome. Sure. Speaking of your fans, so let me get to a few fan questions now.
Cool.
These were the most popular questions I received endless submissions on. And the first one was actually super interesting. I'm not sure if you've gotten this before. A lot of people want to know, would you do a spooky spinoff?
Would I do a spooky spinoff? Oof. Yes, if all of the creative team was involved. Like, yep. For sure. If Lauren is like, hey, I need this story to go sideways, I'm like, yeah, I'm going to follow you for sure.
Nice. If people aren't ready to let go of your character just yet, I'm just based off that question. You mentioned you're rehearsing lines right now, and a lot of people wrote in wondering when you're going to start filming the new season. And do you think it will come out this year?
We don't have a start date as of yet. I don't have like a shoot date start, but I have the scripts. So that right now is just gaining weight, getting off book, and finding out how this person walks and talks now.
How much more do you have to gain? Like, how much do you have to put on?
There's no particular like goal. No one's told me to lose or gain, and I just know that the last 2 seasons I was walking in at around 200 pounds, and I usually weigh like 170. So I got a good 10 pounds to go right now.
Start quarantine eating. There you go.
Yeah, just gobbling it up. Yeah.
Another really big question. You mentioned Brett earlier. A lot of people want to know how you keep a straight face when you work with him. Are you guys always like yelling cut left and right? And how is working with him on the show?
He's a professional, so I try to give it to him as much as possible, but he's a pro, so even when I crack, if the camera's on him, he's gonna like barrel through that scene and just kill it. So we try not to crack up as much as possible, so we're not wasting anybody's time. but it is hard just because I find Brett personally hilarious. So when he does adds onto it, like to me, it's comedy gold.
Yeah, that's amazing. People like wish you would come out with the bloopers reel, the two of you, just the two of you one day. So just putting it out there. I saw that in my inbox a lot. And then another big fan question: if you could play any other character for one day, who would you play and why? Just
Ooh.
one day.
Hmm. I want to say Jamal. Jamal, because he seems like the energetic opposite of Oscar, but also Chivo just sounds interesting.
Nice.
Yeah.
Good choices.
Yeah.
And then one non-related on my block question was about Selena. Fans are loving you in Selena as well. How was that experience?
It was a blast. I learned how to cumbia, so that was months and months and months and months of my time. Yeah, that was a completely. It was just as much fun as on my block, but it was super quick. You know, like we all got down there to Rosarito to film, got it out. The pandemic happened, so there was like a weird in between time, and then we came in and finished it up. Um, yeah, it was like on my block, but like expressway. So
Wow.
similar connection with the cast and everything, but it was like super quick. So yeah, these are all new things for me that I'm getting used to, and it's interesting to go through them in the industry.
Yeah, for sure. Well, you're killing it, and I think it's so cool that the fan base really they look up to you. And as you mentioned earlier, a lot of it is representation and them feeling seen. But you're somebody who inspires a lot of people, and I saw that coming in my DM inbox as well when I announced you as my guest. So
Cool.
I always ask this question for people who have that supportive, fan base around them because I think it's super interesting and I'm all about paying it forward. What's a piece of advice you wish your younger self had known a bit earlier in life that you didn't know then that you want to kind of leave your fans with to help them out?
Something that I'm discovering right now for me is I'm going back and I'm re-examining my country of origin's history. So I'm going back and I'm reading the history of Mexico, but along with that, I'm reading a lot about the history of Latin America in general. And one thing that I wish I would have told my younger self is don't be so quick to try to blend in or stop paying attention to your cultural roots. Embrace them, learn them, take pictures, videos, learn old songs so that they don't like disappear. Because later on, you start to realize how beautiful they are and how much of you comes from that. How like all of the flavors and colors that make you come from your cultural background. So an advice that I give to myself and an advice that I give to all of you, know where you come from and celebrate it.
That's amazing. I love that. That's something we all should remember. And lastly, before I let you go to all of your amazing fans who are tuned in right now, what do you want to say to them?
I love you. Keep supporting the show. Keep believing in yourselves, and you won't be disappointed with this next season. It's pretty cool.
All right, we can't wait. We can't wait. Julio, thank you so much for joining the show. It was a pleasure talking to you. I